Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Tonight, it is Random Topic 2 Thursdays. And if it is Random Topic Thursdays, you know that it is the hottest live stream live on YouTube right now. We're going to have and bring on our brother Shawn James, the author of The Man Crisis, as well as the John Haynes series. Y'all be sure to check out one of his books we have listed here, John Haynes Taking Care of Business. He has several other books that he's going to be plugging in. But we have a few topics that we're going to get into. One of the topics I want to talk about with him includes his thoughts. I know I did this last time, but on Moist Lamont Hill attacking Dr. Bill Cosby. We'll also be discussing the Asian neighbor that shot the 6-year-old boy. We didn't get to hear Sean's thoughts on that. I know he's done a live stream. Also, Juneteenth. It is announced that Juneteenth is a national holiday. Should we celebrate it, or is it more empty symbolism? Y'all tune in to the live stream, the hottest live stream on YouTube on channel GBoo2786, on my backup channel, Gavin Richard, on Periscope, Gavin Rich2786, and on Facebook, Gavin Richard. Wherever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're blessed and doing safe. It is now time to get on up, ladies and gentlemen.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, cause on the dance floor is where we'll be. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start feeling. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop, I do the body hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you're breathing, you're achieving. So if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be. Get the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Gotta get on. Come on, baby, gotta get on. Baby, feel the groove, get on the floor. Sit down and get on.
All right, got to get on up. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Gavin Reshaw Presents here on channel GBoo2786 on Facebook Live, as well as Gavin Reshaw on my backup page. Those that are watching there, well, no one's watching there, but we got a lot of people on Periscope watching, quite a few of you. Shout out to all of you, whoever you are, wherever you are. I hope you are blessed and doing safe. And a shout out to the beautiful sisters that are in the chat. Danielle Meyer, new sub. Shout out to her, sub and moderator. Thank you. Butterflies, Judah Queen. Oh yeah, y'all all dancing. I hope y'all have downloaded the Get On Up track and supported me. If you have, I greatly appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and add our brother to the live stream, Mr. Shawn James. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Mike, how you've been? We missed you last week, bro.
I had some personal issues to take care of.
I know you told me about it, man. I hope everything is okay with you and your folks, bro.
We're good.
That's good. That's good, man. So I told everybody you were going to be plugging in some of your books. So why don't you do that right now, Shawn?
Well, for the 2021 catalog, I have two great titles, ISIS, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, and John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. And both of them are available in paperback and Kindle format right now on Amazon.com. And you can get both of those copies if you log on to Amazon.com. I also have several other great titles which make for great summer reading that range from genres like YA, with the books of the Spinsterella trilogy and the ISIS and Easting series books, to men's issues books like the Simp trilogy and books like The Man Crisis. So there's a lot of great books on the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com, and you can find some great reading for the summer on Amazon.com by just clicking the links to the books that I'm going to put in the chat. So a lot of great books that I have on the SJS Direct imprint, and I'm hoping you guys pick up some for the summer reading season. And I'm hoping that you guys can help me break the milestone that we achieved working together, which was we had over 100 sales for the month of May. And I'm hoping that we can all get together and get those sales up for the month of June. So I really want to break that milestone, and I need your support to do this. I'm going to leave a link to my books and on the Amazon, and you guys can check them out there.
Right. And Shawn is also, he never stops working, which is why he doesn't take vacations. He's working on a new book. You want to tell us just what the title will be of that?
I'm working on a follow-up book to The Man Crisis called The Woman Crisis. And this book is going to deal with all the problems that women are having out here right now. Because in addition to a man crisis, we're having a woman crisis. And a lot of our girls and young ladies who have grown up don't understand their role of women that God has established for them due to 50 years of feminism. And a lot of these women are suffering because they are trying to make themselves work like men in the world, but God has a different order for them, and they need to learn about God's order and God's role for the woman.
All right, most definitely. Shawn, let's get into it, man. First topic I want to talk about, I don't know if you checked this out, but this was a decision that was rendered earlier today. The Supreme Court upholds the Catholic foster care's First Amendment rights. That should actually should add a little bit more to it, but I just did it on short notice. So what happened in this instance, ladies and gentlemen, since the legalization of same-sex marriage with the Obergefell decision, many Catholic adoption agencies and foster care agencies feared that they would come under attack from governments, that they would be forced to participate either in same-sex marriage or bless their marriages in some way, shape, or form, including adoption and adoption agencies. And as the laws have changed recently, different states have adopted laws that have made it a challenge for many of these foster care adoption agencies, especially religious ones that are religious based. So what we had in this case, Shawn, I don't know if you've heard of this, but this happened in Philadelphia, and this was a unanimous decision rendered on behalf of the Catholic Social Services, part of the Archdiocese in Philadelphia. And I don't have the full name of the case here, but the court backed Catholic group that shunned gay foster parents. The United States Supreme Court embraced religious rights over LGBT rights on Thursday by ruling in favor of a Catholic Church affiliated agency that sued after Philadelphia refused to place children for foster care with the organization because it barred same-sex couples from applying to become foster parents. Chief John Roberts, who wrote the majority opinion, and stated in his opinion, wrote, CSS seeks only accommodation that will allow it to continue serving the children of Philadelphia in a manner consistent with its religious beliefs. It does not seek to impose those beliefs on anyone else. Some people have argued, conservatives and religious advocacy groups, that is, they cheered the decision and the fact that the court's 3 liberal members actually joined in the 6 conservative justice opinions, saying it will have a major impact on future legal disputes involving religious beliefs. Attorney Lori Wyndham stated, this is a strong ruling in favor of religious freedom, especially for social service providers. Shawn, I wanted to know what your take on this is. It says, I'm reading further in here, they called the ruling troubling, referring to the LGB and liberal advocacy groups, but said they were relieved it did not go further. Foster care is a government function, and all governments have a compelling interest in ensuring their contract agencies, including faith-based ones, treat all children and families equally. And today's ruling does mean, at least for now, that different same-sex couples have access to all city agencies, while same-sex couples do not. That was M. Curry Cook of the Lambda Legal Pro LGBT Rights Group. Shawn?
Well, it looks like to me that the Supreme Court is following the Constitution, and they are following the laws as related to the First Amendment, which guarantee freedom of religion. And freedom of religion means a religious institution can't be forced to do things that are outside of their spiritual and religious beliefs. So what the justices here have done is they're following the Constitution of the United States, and they're setting a boundary for the alphabet community to follow as related to the law. Because what the alphabet community wanted to do was they wanted to go out here and be able to overstep the boundaries of the laws of this land. They wanted to try to impose their beliefs onto a religious institution, and that's something you just cannot do with our United States Constitution. I mean, if this institution is a religious-based institution and they have their policies that they're following as related to their religion, then it is their right to say that, no, we don't want to go out here and work with this group of people, and that's not discrimination. Those are the people's beliefs that are stated in the Bible. And if these people disagree with that group, then they're going to have to go to a group that is non-religious and go deal with them. But you cannot force your opinions and your viewpoints on a religious institution. It's very similar to the ruling that was given as related to the company that refused the gay couple with the cakes. Again, people's freedom of religion. You cannot impose your ideas on other people, because people in this country, we have freedom of speech, we have freedom of religion, we have freedoms. And again, you can't have this alphabet community going out here looking to force their way down people's throats. And what the Supreme Court has done is set a boundary. And I believe we're going to see a lot more boundaries as related to the LGBT community, which has been coming across, as I see it, like a bully and trying to impose their way on everybody. And what people are doing now is setting boundaries for this group to let them know that, yes, you do have rights, but you have a responsibility to respect the rights of others in this country.
Yeah, understood. First Amendment of the Constitution clearly establishes freedom of religion, and not only freedom of religion applies to organizations; it really applies to the individual. The Establishment Clause that is in there is to prevent the government from dictating what religions you should practice, and the what we call it's the Establishment Clause, and it's also it's slipping my mind, man. Where's my head at right now? Is right. There's a it's gonna come back to me. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, the government it protects your First Amendment rights, and there's the Free Exercise Clause. That's what it is, free exercise. So there's an Establishment Clause, and there's the Free Exercise Clause, which guarantees you the right of free exercise of your religion. And the Establishment Clause essentially placed limits on Congress, preventing Congress from telling you what religions you or beliefs you should have. Governments cannot do that. So somebody saying screw tube. Is something going on with the stream, guys?
I guess there might be. Let's see.
Let me go. I know I had an issue with Facebook last time. Facebook actually did not show my stream. I was trying to click on it through my phone. I was on Tuesday, and I wasn't even talking about anything, well, controversial, except Dorothy Kilgallen's death, which might be because that involved JFK. So maybe that was their way of getting at me. But I don't know what's going on. So let's see. Let me see if I can look on my Facebook page.
It looks like it's good from my computer.
Yeah, I can see my Facebook page fine. So that's fine. YouTube, let's see. Let me just check on mine just to be sure. All right, it looks okay. Butterfly says it's good now. Okay, so everybody's saying it's good. Okay. So yeah, we'll move forward. Yeah, so as I was saying, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause are two different things that are set up to protect the citizens, basically from government, but also allowing them to practice their beliefs, practice their freedom of religion, and a freedom. What's in that too in the First Amendment is also freedom of expression. So when you had the Baker, that case that you were talking about, which was out in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, the Supreme Court said it was about freedom of expression with regards to that Baker's decision not to bake a gay cake if he didn't want to. I believe the man's name was Jack Phelps, if I'm not mistaken, out of Colorado, who made that cake. And, you know, he actually knew the gay couple.
Yeah.
He refused to do it, but the husband wanted him to, the one that didn't know him that well, filed the complaint with the city.
Yeah. And they filed that complaint, but the thing is that that person has a First Amendment right to refuse service. I mean, if you have freedom of expression, then you cannot force somebody to make something they don't want to make.
Right. This was the yeah, and let me just show everybody. Yeah, this was the case. First Amendment. This is from First Amendment Watch. This is the Baker. Right, and it was a 5-4 decision, and it was interesting because the man who wrote the opinion was Anthony Kennedy, who was the one that was the swing vote for the Obergefell decision. Now, I don't really care for Kennedy. Jack Phillips was the owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop in Lakeland, Colorado. He refused to design and create a wedding cake for a celebration of same-sex marriage. And he claimed that creation of the cake is artistic expression protected by the First Amendment's free speech and free exercise of religion. The same-sex couple in Colorado argued that Phillips' work on the cake is not expressive conduct according to the law, and that the state had a significant interest in preventing discrimination based on sexual orientation. So this was a 7-2 decision, not 5-4. But Kennedy is the one that wrote this. The neutral and respectful consideration to which Phillips was entitled was compromised here. The Civil Rights Commission's treatment of his case has some elements of a clear and impermissible hostility toward the sincere religious beliefs that motivated his objection. I'm not going to read all of this, but you can see here the reasons why they did it, and I'll leave the link. But they basically said in this case, from what I'm reading, is that the government guarantees right of free exercise and freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and cannot impose regulations that are hostile to those religious beliefs of affected citizens, and cannot act in a manner that passes judgment upon or presupposes the illegitimacy of religious beliefs and practices. And the courts have already held that. So in other words, you cannot, as the government, tell a person who, let's say they don't practice what they preach, you can't tell them that. You know, if someone says, I'm I don't know, if I'm a Mormon, I don't drink, but then you catch them at a bar drinking and you were to file, you know, and I know this is crazy, I can't think of a scenario, but as a government, as a member of the government, you can't compel that person to practice their religion or tell them what's legitimate and what's not. It's about what they believe. That's why we have the First Amendment. And so in this case, they could not tell whether Jack Phillips's religious belief was valid or invalid. That was not their concern. And that was a case they had, the Church of Lukumai Babalu Aya versus Alea, and factors relevant to the assessment of governmental neutrality include the historical background of the decision under challenge, the specific series of events leading to the enactment or official policy in question. So yeah, I'm not gonna read all of this, guys. It's gonna have me tongue-tied. I don't even have my water right here. But yeah, Shawn, this was a big case, and of course, what's interesting too, also in this same decisions that have been handed down, the Supreme Court also upheld Obamacare. Did you have a comment on that you wanted to throw in?
Well, I'm not too happy about that ruling because Obamacare really hasn't helped a lot of American people. I mean,
what is the problem? What are some of the problems with Obamacare that you find? Because a lot of people.
The problem I have with it is that it takes a lot of working class Americans. It takes money out of their pockets, and it has them paying more for health care than they can afford because it's like it's mandates that you have to have this health care. And a lot of people, if they're not working a city job or a government job, they have to come out of their pockets for this health care. And that really eats into their bills. And a lot of people, they're not really making a lot of money these days. And all this did was create another bill that people had to pay. I mean, yes, you gave people health care. In a lot of cases, sadly, it's not even affordable because it's encroaching on many of their bills and stuff that they have to pay for other things. So you've made it harder for the average American. Yes, this was a nice idea in theory, but it made it harder for the average American out here to be able to go out here and have some money to save because it just created another bill. And the bills of these premiums, they have been going up for the last decade or so as related to this Affordable Care Act. So it's not really affordable to the average American. And that's why I have an issue with this whole Obamacare, because outside, you have to be basically making under $20,000 a year to get a benefit from Obamacare. If you're on welfare, if you're broke, yeah, you get health care and you get like Medicaid or something like that. You get your Obama phone, you get free internet. But for the average working person, they're paying $500 a month, $600 a month for health care at the minimum. And a lot of people, they're struggling, and that's money that's been taken out of their pocket due to this policy and this mandate that really did not have much of an effect if we look at the whole COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, I know one thing with it. You did not get to choose your choice of doctor, as Obama had said. Like, you could still keep your choice. That was not the case. And you got to think about it too. They're in the business to make money as well.
Yeah.
Those doctors would not stay with something that they knew was going to hurt or hinder their business in any way, shape, or form. The issue I had with it too was that it was also it deals with the Hobby Lobby case as well, where if you were a religious, well, even though they are a business, but they're founders, they are conservative, they're religious based. You had also Catholic hospitals that had this situation. It was going to compel them to support, i.e., birth control or abortion in some way, shape, or form, especially when you talk about the Catholic hospitals that they have. They have policies that are guided and mandated by the church. They do not support that. And not just Catholic, it's also Methodist, because you have Methodist hospitals, you have uh, you know, I'm trying to think of different ones, Baptist hospitals, things of that nature, where they're private.
Yeah.
They're privately owned, and their administrations, they don't adhere to that. Shout out to Blackfoot. Shout out to Daniel Meyer. She says, when I looked at the Obamacare prices, I just thought it was way too expensive. Yeah. So what's affordable about it? And Judge Joe Brown even said that it's a way for insurance companies to basically get over on people.
And they've screwed the average American. I mean, the average American, they just got another bill put on them, and they were barely able to make ends meet. And these companies, these healthcare companies are making out in the short term, but they may wind up imploding in the long term because this Affordable Care Act is just too expensive and it's just unsustainable over a period of time. That's why I actually do believe that was one of the better points that Donald Trump was making about repealing and replacing this whole plan. Because ever since they passed it back in 2009, I said it was a fundamentally flawed program, and it does not really give people affordable care. I mean, if the average American is saying that these plans are just too expensive, then why do we have this law in the books? It's just like prohibition. I mean, we tried to say prohibition and ban alcohol was going to make America a better society, but all that did was create a whole lot of crime, and we had to wind up repealing that law. We really need to concede, just like we did with prohibition, this doesn't work, and it's time to do something else.
Yeah. Well, as of now, it's here to stay. And most people don't know that this was not created by Barack Obama. In actuality, the bill had been passed or was around as far back as the 80s, and it was Republican representative, I believe, or senator, I believe, was Bill Frist, who was a doctor, who was responsible for creating that, or at least had a hand in that. From what Judge Joe Brown has stated, and I can't verify this, his family founded Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is the largest medical insurance provider in the country. But I remember even when Obamacare was passed and looking at what options I had, and they were hell of a lot of pocket as well. I couldn't afford it. It was expensive. And people got to realize when you do discounts on something, like for instance, people that are arguing for, and I know it's two different topics, but people that argue, for example, minimum wage going up. If minimum wage goes up at a place of work, at a fast food restaurant, the prices on the food are also going to go up as well, because you're going to have to be able to compete and sustain yourself, because I'm paying more money for my employees. I can't keep cheap prices on my food.
Nope.
Because I would be taking a loss.
It's basic economics. And I had talked about it in a video a while back. I said, when they raise the minimum wage, what's going to happen is you're going to see prices increase, and that's going to lead to inflation. It's just basic economic 101, but seems like people just can't connect dots on basic economics and understanding that when you go out here.
It's more about emotions, Shawn, than it is just basic economics. People are emotional. And I think, emotion clouds your judgment. Like Michael told Vincent Corleone when he was in the helicopter, never hate your enemies.
Yeah. Your emotions will get the better of you and make you make mistakes.
Yeah,
and then
it clouds your judgment.
and they'll get the advantage on you, because once people see you're emotional, they use that to their advantage.
Yes. Let me just ask you this on this last topic, on this last topic and last comment. If this were a Republican, if this didn't say Obamacare, if this said Reagan care, if this said Trump care, do you think the outrage, and this is not me, I don't want to sound like I'm taking up for the Republicans, but do you think the reactions would be different if it had a Republican president's name on it?
I think the reactions would be the same, because the whole plan is fundamentally flawed. I mean, the whole plan just does not work. If you just understand basic economics, you would understand that this whole idea of mandated health care is eventually going to wind up becoming unsustainable, because the average American just cannot afford this type of plan, because if most of your money is going out is paying for health care, daycare, and other things outside, then how much money is the American person going to have as disposable income or to even pay their bills? I mean, the plan was fundamentally flawed from day one. And this legislation, Barack Obama passed it to get a legacy, but it's just a legacy of failure, because
Right. He said that when he was when he was leaving office.
Yeah.
If he didn't vote, it would insult my legacy.
Yeah, but his legacy is a legacy of failure. The whole thing, it's a legacy that does not really help anyone. I mean, yes, passively we got healthcare, but aggressively we've got a bunch of bills that people can't afford, and healthcare that's not really even that great, because when you go out and try to get some services from these hospitals, they limit you so much that the healthcare you're paying for is absolutely worthless.
Most definitely. Well, my thing is, Shawn, I think without question, if this were a bill that had Reagan care or Trump care, a lot of people on the left would be criticizing it. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of black people, because I see blacks that are celebrating if it was something passed by Reagan, because we didn't like Ronald Reagan, like talking about it. Nobody liked Reagan, man. We didn't like Reagan. Our people didn't like Reagan.
Yeah, we were taught to not like Reagan, but the whole thing is that Jimmy Carter was just terrible.
Yeah. Well, Judge Joe has something to say.
One second.
Okay. All right. We're waiting for Shawn to come back. Guess that's his pizza. All right, you guys, while Shawn is away, y'all hit that like button, hit that share, subscribe, donate to the channel. You'll see the Cash App at the bottom. Please donate to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire. Gavin Richard Esquire. We are on live. You see it right there, Gavin Richard ESQ. Y'all see it in the ticker. Please donate. And also check out my brother's book, my brother Shawn James. He has John Haynes, the man taking care of business. Has latest book on Amazon.com. He also has Isis, the Cyber Goddess. That's available.
Revenge of the Cyber Goddess.
Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. I butcher your books all the time.
Yeah, the titles are, some of them are they're out there.
Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's the title.
Yeah. You know what? While I got it here, let me change something. Hold on. All right, I fixed it. There we go. Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. All right.
Yeah.
He's about to get his grub on.
No,
I said you had pizza.
No, this is this is an action figure I had picked up. I had ordered it over a year ago.
Oh, let's see it.
Well, it's a Kaufman Comics Lady Death. I can't really. I put it on Instagram, so I don't really want to show it off too much.
Oh yeah, you're gonna end up like that dude who got robbed with that $20,000 gold chain. Yeah.
No, I don't want to wind up like him.
Yeah, they're gonna be knocking on your door.
Yeah.
We saw you on Gavin's live stream. Come on out, motherfucker! Give me that action figure.
Yeah.
The Black Geek Squad.
Yeah.
You're gonna be robbed by, yeah.
Nah, go ahead.
Actually, stab you with my pen. I'm just messing, Sean.
I
But
know.
yeah, I noticed you collect all. I see all the action figures on the desk on your dresser back there.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Was it Transformers?
Yeah, it's a knockoff Bumblebee. It's a Bumblebee. It's Ninja Turtles, Voltron. It's my '80s tape. It's my '80s tape display. But I bought this one to help out a small company and help them get their business going.
Are they black owned?
Not black owned, but it's just I like to help out small
Sure.
independent publishers and small independent companies, and that's one of the things I try to do is help a lot of small indie companies because they are, as I see, the future.
Taisha Essex is in the building. What's up, baby? Yes, you love the Ali shirt. The greatest of all times. I'll beat Liston, I'll beat Frazier, and I'll beat you in the bedroom. Man, you know what's interesting about how Ali rapped to a girl. You know what's interesting about since you mentioned that, Taisha, I actually had this shirt from I bought this after he had passed. Essence was doing what people on the street were selling t-shirts and stuff, and I grabbed this. And let me just say, when I put this shirt on, I was in Dallas, Texas on vacation. I walked into the mall out in Dallas off the freeway. Everybody probably familiar with Dallas. You know, they have two malls next to each other. And when I walked in there, in the Dillard section, is run by nothing but that area. You might know this is run by Arabs and Muslims and so forth. I walk in there were people working in there with Arab descent. And when I walk in the shirt, all I heard was saying, Ali, Ali, the brother Ali, Ali. Everywhere I walked, they had a smile on their face and raising their fist up. And that's just the impact that man had and how proud he made us feel, especially as Black people, because he was one of the few individuals. And, you know, it's interesting too. June is also the month of his passing, Muhammad Ali's passing. He was one of those people that uh, was universal. Everybody knew him by name. Everybody knew who he was, like Michael Jackson. You know, outside of Michael Jackson, Muhammad Ali is probably the only one that rivaled him in terms of worldwide celebrity. I just talked about that for a minute. You know, Ali, he rivaled, Michael in terms of being a celebrity figure, being like the most famous man on earth, because everywhere he went, everybody knew him. You know?
Yep. Ali was an icon.
He was. And they try to walk, and and speaking of that, like, they watered him down to try and make it look like he transcended race and say he wasn't about race, but Ali was all about his blackness.
It was always about Black empowerment. I mean, everything he did was about Black empowerment.
Yeah. And they did stuff with his funeral, had all of those white speakers that spoke, like Billy Crystal, and having Brian Gumble speak. And I remember stuff like that. And, you know, not, of course, that's something that the family had planned, but, you know, they did not like Muhammad Ali. I don't care how nice they want to put it. They liked Muhammad Ali when he couldn't talk.
Yeah, because they could put words in his mouth.
Right. Same thing with Richard Pryor. When Richard Pryor got MS and Ali got Parkinson's, that's when all the tributes started coming out. Okay, nigga, you quiet. We'll talk about you a little bit. Yeah, we love you. We loved you, Ali. Don't say nothing. But that's what they did. Yeah. And they watered down our heroes. And I'm speaking of watered down. Let's get into the next topic. And I'm glad we brought that up because that's a way to segue into this a Juneteenth holiday. Now, Sean, I don't know about you, but I was really not familiar with Juneteenth, even as a kid growing up, what that meant. We never talked about it. I don't think it was anything that was widely discussed. I didn't hear anything about it until after I graduated college. personally. I don't know about you. I can't answer, of course, for everybody, but just by a show of hands, who knew about Juneteenth or saw it or celebrated it?
I knew about it. I read about it in a Players magazine back when I was in high school. Now, I'm not supposed to have that type of magazine when I was a kid, but I read about it there. But that's where I heard about it first.
A Playboy magazine?
No, Players magazine.
Oh,
that was the adult magazine with black models in it.
I had Black Men's magazine.
I
had so Players magazine. Okay.
Yeah, they don't make it anymore, but I had picked it up when I was about 15 or 16. No, 16. I was 16.
Closest I could do was Jet.
Yeah.
As a kid.
I've picked up Jets too, and that's why I paid homage to Jet magazine with the Goddess of the Week poster that I made for my wall. So
yeah, I wanted to show this. I guess we could take a look at it. This happened a few hours ago. President Biden signed legislation to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. He claimed the holiday doesn't just celebrate the past, it calls for action today. And the signing act would be one of the greatest honors I would have made as a president. So I'm going to play a video of, this is Biden's speech, but I was trying to actually play a part when he actually signs the bill. It's 23 minutes long. I don't like having this in for a long time, but we'll go ahead and play this. And the likes to dislikes, guys. Yeah, I know they got some racist trolls on here, but it shows those two how out of touch the media is with the people. So I keep that in mind as well.
Tomorrow, Americans will get to celebrate a brand new federal holiday, Juneteenth, which commemorates the end of slavery. CBS's Nancy Cordes has more on the importance of the day and the woman most responsible for getting it recognized.
With the stroke of a pen today, Juneteenth became the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Day in 1983.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
June 19th, 1865 was the day a Union general arrived in Galveston, Texas to inform enslaved people they were free. 2 months after the end of the Civil War and 2 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation.
So think about that. For more than 2 years, the enslaved people of Texas were kept in servitude.
94-year-old Opal Lee has been working to make Juneteenth a national holiday for decades. 5 years ago, she walked from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. to urge Congress to act. This week, she finally got her wish.
The bill is passed.
You are an incredible woman, Ms. Opal. You really are.
Opal Lee had a front row seat to history today, as President Biden said signing the bipartisan bill would go down as one of the greatest honors of his presidency.
By making Juneteenth a federal holiday, all Americans can feel the power of this day and learn from our history and celebrate progress and grapple with the distance we've come, but the distance we have to travel, Jim.
June 19th is on Saturday, so the federal government is treating tomorrow, Friday, as a holiday instead and giving many federal workers the day off. Though we just heard from the Postal Service, Nora, that it can't implement those changes so quickly and cease operations on Friday and Saturday, so post offices will remain open this year. Well, Opal Lee, proving you can make a difference even in your 90s. Nancy Cordes, thank you.
Oh, Lord. They had her. Now here's the thing about this. Although Joe Biden made Juneteenth a federal holiday, which falls on Saturday, they can't, as they said, just switch up. So your mail's still going to be delivered. Your banks will still be open. So things are still that's still going on. Garbage collection still goes on as planned as it has with for many times with me. I mean, that didn't stop. That's controlled by the city anyway. Now, you saw all of those Negroes that were all hugged up. I'm trying to be respectful to Miss Lee, but when you see Raphael Warnock, when I see Jim Clyburn, when I see Sheila Lee Jackson up there with the gavel, I get disgusted. And I get disgusted because you guys can celebrate the passage of a holiday that I'm pretty damn sure you guys didn't even celebrate. Probably still don't. And yet, you guys can't even talk about reparations. You didn't need a study to do a Juneteenth holiday. What about them Juneteenth reparations? And let's be real about it. Isn't it? This is actually what happened with Juneteenth. It's really sad because those Negroes that were working in those plantation fields, those slaves, were freed people, never knew it, they were never told they were free until years after, 2 years after, until 1865. I think it was 1866 actually. But if it was it might have been 1865. Yeah, 1865. That's when the Civil War ended that year. The Emancipation Proclamation was given in 1863 by Abraham Lincoln in January of that year. But the thing is that the Confederates were not going to listen to what Abraham Lincoln said because they were fighting him in a fucking war. They rebelled. You think they were going to listen to him? The only area that was in Union control in the South, take a guess which one it was. My hometown, New Orleans. And that was because around that time, they had taken control of, with the Navy ships, with the Battle of New Orleans and so forth, they actually took control of that area. Battle of Baton Rouge, they took control of that. The Union won those battles. But they were not going to listen in Texas or damn sure not in Mississippi, not in Florida, not in North Carolina, not in South Carolina, not in Tennessee. They had no control of those states. So, Shawn, go ahead.
When I look at this whole Juneteenth holiday, it's just another empty symbolic gesture that means absolutely nothing. And the only people who are celebrating this as some sort of accomplishment are these buck dancing, bojangling, old steppin' fetch it Negroes out here who think that they've accomplished something because you got another day off. I mean, that means absolutely nothing to the average Black American out here. This is not anything of value to us. What good is a day off to the average Black American when we went out here and elected this president, not to give us empty symbolic gestures, but to give us tangibles in exchange for our votes? I mean, this is the type of thing that these old civil rights dinosaurs think is an accomplishment. Oh, we got a celebration of a holiday. That means nothing because it didn't mean anything to those southern states at all. I mean, you can talk about your declarations of freedom, empty symbolic gestures. And the main reason why they want this holiday is because, like Memorial Day, they want to make it another holiday where they can go and get the black dollar. And what they want to do is have this holiday where they can go, oh, it's Juneteenth, and we're going to have a Juneteenth sale at all of these different stores. Yes. We're going to have this Juneteenth
sale forever on the Juneteenth sale at Macy's.
Yeah, and all these Negroes,
all black shirts,
and all these Negroes is going to head down to the store to spend their money with these white and non-black business owners, and they're not going to even think about the holiday and what it means about liberation of black people, or even think about empowering black people. What these white supremacists in not Hollywood, but in Washington
We can
wanted
say
to do.
Hollywood too.
Yeah, they
But
wanted to create a day where they could go out here and get black people to be consumers. And as they're out here consuming products, they're out here going to the Juneteenth sale, celebrating their liberation and celebrating their freedom by spending their money with their oppressor. That's just one of the most comical things I have seen as related to this. And sadly, we got the same old buck dancing Negroes who are a part of the civil rights movement celebrating this empty symbolism, but not understanding you got absolutely nothing in return for anything. This is just meant to make black people feel good because they know that the Negro likes to feel good. And the whole thing is, while he's feeling good, he can't see that they pulled a swerve on him. And yes, they gave you a day off, but then they gave you nothing tangible. The Asians got an anti-Asian bill to give them money. Hispanics went out here and they got programs for immigrants, and other people got all of these tangibles in terms of money and earmarks. And all you got was a day off to go shop and give your money to the white man and go out here and think you're celebrating some sort of freedom by going to your oppressor to go to the Juneteenth sale.
well, let me say this too. 1866 was the first time it was celebrated. So it originated in 1866, but it was 1865, June 19th, when George Gordon Granger, who was a Union Army general, made that announcement, proclaiming slavery had ended for those that lived in Texas. Somebody wrote E.D. Deck, stated that it should be something observed by. Cheryl said it should be a holiday for Black Texans again. Nothing tangible. Sean says 100. Judah Queen says Sean 100. Right, and it's those same Negroes that are up there who will do everything for any other group. I saw Clogburn, you saw Kamala Harris, you saw Warnock, Sheila Jackson Lee, a couple others. What did you? I'm trying to be respectful to the elderly sister that pushed for it because she wanted this, but it's just empty symbolism. All due respect, y'all parade this lady out here, and I get that she's fighting for it, but what are you going to give tangible to those people? Are you pushing for reparations? What about those Juneteenth reparations? This is nothing more. You know what's going to happen, Sean? This is nothing more for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party to say that they did something for Black people. That's what they're going to use this as.
Yeah, it's an empty symbolic gesture.
Wall Street, when they came out there and were dancing like Bojangles and Shirley Temple, when they were there, when Sheila Jackson Lee came out there looking like Weezy Jefferson. Oh, she was moving on up. And they're coming up there dancing, singing spirituals. You had those three survivors of Tulsa that were there and took pictures with them, had them wearing sneakers and tennis shoes from Nike and so forth.
It's just sad to see.
Why we have that photo. Let me pull it back up. That video. Hold on. Let's pull it back up. I showed you all a picture. That picture you saw, and do a couple of things. Let me just. It's not about this, and it's not disrespecting the elder, Danielle, but we speak in facts. They got difference between elders and just old niggas that don't do shit. I'm not calling her an old nigga or anything like that. No, old Negroes, no. But they got old Negroes who don't do shit. That's just the truth.
Yeah. Empty. They give us empty symbolic gestures.
Old niggas. Yeah. Dick Gregory, that's an elder. Dick Gregory is an elder.
Because elders give you.
Blackburn is not an elder. He's an old Negro. But this map, I'm sorry, Sean.
I said elders give you something in order to pass a legacy on. They give you values. They give you wisdom. older people just sit there, they're dead weight.
and criticize you for not thinking like how they do.
Yeah.
You got to do this. Now look, all in red. Florida, Louisiana. This is what I was talking about with part of it being in blue, because during the Civil War, the Union, in one of the battles, like the Battle of Baton Rouge and Battle of for New Orleans, this Union won those battles.
Yep.
It was called the Capture of New Orleans. That took place for over a week, from April 25th, 1862 to May 1st, 1862. The federal fleets came down there.
Yep.
But you see all of that red? You think they care about an order from Abraham Lincoln?
No, they were part of Confederacy. When all those people who were red, they didn't care. They weren't following those laws. They didn't even really acknowledge the Emancipation Proclamation
Right.
because
So
it had no
Arkansas.
jurisdiction.
This is Arkansas. I think this is
Looks like Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, and Florida.
right. North Carolina, South Carolina,
Virginia.
Virginia is there. Yeah. There's
So
West Virginia. I
so
believe
you
this is Tennessee.
yeah, parts of Tennessee. If I know my U.S. history, but none of those states really acknowledged anything because they were still under the Confederacy. They were still following Jefferson Davis, so they weren't following anything that Abraham Lincoln established. He was not their president.
Yeah, but to see Cogburn, and Cogburn is the one that said Biden, he ain't got to give us nothing, but look out for me and my families.
Yeah, he don't speak for me. He's a
But
clown.
a clump,
He's a clown.
he's a clump too. He
Yep.
looks like Papa Clump. All you need to know is you got a big ass. I got a big ass. Your mama got a big ass. Cletus. But let me wait, hold on. Let's put the picture up
The
here.
national
Look
with
at this. Y'all see this?
Look at these clowns. It looked like a minstrel show. Look at this. This is embarrassing to watch. Look at them buck dancing and Bojangles from Mr. Charlie. You done gave us some crumbs. Yes, sir. That's good to us.
Mm-hmm. You can hear the slave music in the background.
Yep.
Yes, Lord. Mm-hmm. Y'all remember any black movie that comes on TV? They always got that slave music playing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those in the 70s.
Coming. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it was on Bring the Pain, Method Man's track. Mm-hmm. 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 Is it real, son? Yes, it's really real. I'm trying to be respectful to Miss Pell, Miss Peel, I believe it's her name. I'm trying to be real respectful to her because I don't know her. But I'm saying I can only speak for me. I can speak for a lot of people and the people I know of. This is not something we want to deal with. This is not something I'm gonna be celebrating. and it's going to be co-opted because it's already tied with the LGBT Q. This is the month of June. This is actually supposed to be Black. This is still not supposed to be. It is still Black Music Month, and we're not here. You know, you're tying that in with this. You know, all of that is going to be. All of that is being co-opted now because I can see the commercials. Get your Juneteenth shirts. Yeah, I get your Juneteenth sale on. It's Wakanda forever. I Miss Opal Lee, excuse me, is her name. I mess up everybody's name. Excuse me. It comes down to memory for me. I'm sorry. So not I shoot straight from the hip when I'm on here, guys. I don't have a prepared document or anything. I just shoot straight. Miss Opal Lee, that's the young lady here that's being held by Mrs. M. Hoff. Farside says, please don't say this tied to the LGBTQ. Well, I've seen the posters with it. It's being co-opted. I've seen the posters with the rainbow flag behind it. I see you, computer robots. Hold on. This is a picture. Hey, hold on. I got the perfect theme song for this. This is good. I'm going to get a copyright claim, but I don't care. This is perfect. I can play it for a little bit.
Yes, we're moving on up to
The Jeffersons were recorded on tape before a live studio audience. Come on, y'all. Let's take it home. Come on, Shawn.
Yeah,
Get ready to do it. We ready? 1, 2, 3. The Jeffersons were recorded on tape in front of a live studio audience. Weezer! Come on, Shawn, let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
I don't think so.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm sorry. But yeah, so seriously, this is all you're going to get out of the administration is symbolic gestures. I mean that with all sincerity. I mean, the United States, if they wanted to give, somebody could have asked Biden, and I don't think they did. Do you support reparations straight up? Well, you're going to make this a holiday. What about the reparations for those slaves that were still there in 1865? I'm sure you can trace the families, but we know, that's not something that they're going to do. I know they're not, but I mean, they called the reporter out on this. One of Biden's press secretary, they asked, does he support reparations, or does this mean he'll support reparations? And they straight up ignored the question. I don't know if you saw that a couple of weeks back when the Black Wall Street anniversary was going on. Shawn, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was asking you. I don't know if you saw that.
What?
Biden's press secretary was asked, this was a couple of weeks ago, about reparations, and she ignored the question straight up.
we knew that was going to happen with Joker Joe. I mean, he doesn't want to give tangibles to black people because he figures he's taken the black vote for granted. I mean, what happened here is he doesn't have to talk about reparations or anything because he got the vote. And because he's got those votes without getting anything tangible in exchange for them, he's practically doing the same thing Hillary Clinton is doing, taking the black vote for granted because all of those black people, they took their booties to the poll, even though they were disrespected. So he doesn't have to give you anything because you gave him the vote for free. So he's looking at black people and saying, you want reparations now? That he doesn't have to give it to you because he doesn't even have to answer the question because he's already got the vote. And that was the big mistake black people made, that people in new black media were trying to tell them not to do, but they still went out here and voted anyway. And now all they're doing is learning the hard lesson that when you give away your vote for nothing, then this is what you get. This is what happens. He blows you off because he doesn't have to do any work for that vote. And because he knows that these NPCs are going to run because they want to get rid of the evil orange man or whatever scare they come up with next year for the midterms or 2024. They know they can count on this Negro to show up at the polls. That they don't really care about any sort of discussion about reparations because they believe they've got that black vote sewn up.
Yeah. This is actually what members of Congress are going to come out wearing for Juneteenth. We got a picture of them right here, white members of Congress. I think that's Nancy Pelosi's. You remember when this character debuted, Shawn?
Yeah, that's Hakeem.
Hakeem the Dream.
Yeah.
He came out dancing, talking jive and stuff.
Yeah, he was fake pro black. He was a white guy playing pro black.
Right. The Twin Towers.
Yeah, with Big Boss Man.
Right, I remember that. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk with you about this. I'll try and move on because I know we spend a lot of time on it, but on different things. But speaking of which, of course, this is Pride Month. I won't say too much about Pride Month because I'll get my channel taken off, like last time, or I'll get suspended. So I'm trying to avoid that. But as Jason Black calls her, Keisha Bottom B, she signed an executive order making city bathrooms gender neutral. I want to ask your thoughts about this. I don't know if you've actually seen what happened, but Mayor of Atlanta earlier today signed an executive order regarding that and all administrative buildings, anything within the city's control. This includes the Atlanta airports. She signed an administrative order designating over 100 city-owned single-user restrooms as all gendered. These restrooms will be available across city facilities, including the ATL airport, the world's busiest airport. And this is an image of her at the signing. You guys can take a look and read that. Now, she is not running for mayor anymore. She's actually stepping down. She will not seek re-election.
Because she knows she will get badly beaten.
Most definitely. That's her signing the bill. And Tariq Nasheed, I don't know who this gentleman is, but do you see there by the rainbow flag and by the transgender flag? You know, I have a question. You know, my main question with this, though, Shawn, I thought, especially you've seen these flags around and on the United States embassies during this month. A flag is supposed to represent a nation and a country, not an ideology when you're in another person's country and they're allowing this. So how are these other nations taking that when they see that? But before, if you could answer that and then answer what you think of the executive order.
I think the executive order is a very irresponsible executive order. I think it's a dangerous order because this leaves children and women vulnerable to sexual predators who will take advantage of this to be able to go into these bathrooms to participate in sexual violence and sexual assault of women. Because this, when you make bathrooms open to everybody's gender, you don't really understand that this makes it open for predators to take advantage of that situation and go out here and sexually abuse children and go out here and sexually assault and violate our women. The whole thing is that the separate bathrooms for male and female were meant to give some safety to women as related to going to those bathrooms and prevent them from being taken advantage of by predators, and also prevent them from having to see sexual deviants use these bathrooms as places to hook up, because a lot of people in the alphabet community, they love to use public restrooms as a place to participate in their sexual activities because they believe it gives them privacy, and that's something people don't want to talk about, but it's something that goes on. I don't want to go on into it too much because I don't want to get in trouble, but I'll go on and talk about.
Too late. They already messing with it.
Yeah, but it was shown in NYPD Blue. I remember watching NYPD Blue and they talked about that. So,
well, let me say this. I'm even putting aside the bill she signed. Let's look at what's going on in Atlanta, because I visited Atlanta last year. There is mass gentrification going on in Atlanta, and also, and I find this problem common here in New Orleans. We have a homelessness crisis in this city. I ain't got one going on in Atlanta. When I was actually downtown attending the FBA conference in Atlanta, they had their buildings closed, boarded up, obviously from the riots and stuff. But I could see under the overpass where you had homeless people living under there. So, with that crisis going on, all the stuff that you think would be a top priority as mayor, she should talk about something like this.
well,
But it said this is what she wants to do in her last year in office.
she wants to give empty symbolic gestures that make it look like she's doing something, but she does absolutely nothing. And that's one of the problems people have with these leftists is they come out here talking about they're doing things for people, but they're empty symbolic gestures. I mean, how does having access to the bathroom for all genders help all of these homeless people who are struggling, the city that's become unaffordable for its citizens, and a job market that practically is a complete mess? I mean, what we're seeing from our leaders is a complete disconnect as related to them. They live in a whole different world than the rest of us. And because they want to try to imagine their deluded reality as reality, they refuse to see all of the people struggling and suffering in their cities. And that's why I say in 2022, we're going to see a bloodbath, because people are really getting tired of these politicians with their empty symbolic gestures and doing what they feel they're comfortable with and not giving us what we need. And when I look at your Keisha Lance Bottoms, this is why she's so scared and is run out as related to her position. That's why she doesn't want to run, because she knows that people, if they're smart, they're going to go out here and talk about how she's done nothing for them, and they're going to use that as a reason to boot her out of office.
Yeah. Butterflies, what do you mean was bad in Colorado? She said a basic apartment. I wanted her to explain in the comment, but she says a basic apartment here for one bedroom is 1,800 to 2,100.
That's way too much money.
Yeah.
And who is going to live in these apartments? Again, a critical question.
Well, we got a moratorium about to end on June 30th.
Yeah, but the critical question is, who's going to live in these apartments if nobody has a job? I mean, and if you've got these rents so high and half the country is working for minimum wage, who can afford to live here? It's like people are living in disconnected from each other, and they're not really seeing reality. And this is the problem with America these days: is nobody is seeing reality because people want to create their own truth, and they don't understand that in reality, if the average American can't afford your apartment, then eventually your whole economic system is going to collapse. And these people just can't see reality. They're living in their own world. And this is the problem with most of American people these days, is that they don't want to take that red pill and see what's actually there. No, they want to live in their delusional blue pill fantasy and come up with these empty gestures that do nothing, and come up with these empty ideas that mean nothing, but not really want to give people something of substance so they can go out here and do what they need to do.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to share this with you because I shared this article with you, and it goes back to reparations. Yeah, apparently the Keisha Bottoms, they say the crime rate in Buckhead would be her legacy. I've heard a lot about that in Atlanta, that Atlanta is having those issues. Atlanta was once the Black Mecca. Great mayors like Maynard Jackson and even Andy Young, to a degree, because Andy Young, I believe, was responsible for bringing the Olympics to Atlanta. Maynard, he is the one that was the first Black mayor of Atlanta and revitalized that entire airport, made it what it was. He made sure Blacks got contracts on rebuilding Atlanta, on building that airport. That's why it's called the Jackson Hartfield Airport. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but Keisha Lance Bottoms can't even match his legacy. She can't match it at all. Oh, she's another symbolic person because she's only there because she's the first Black woman, but we see that the first Black woman is ineffective as a leader.
She's not the first Black woman.
But she's not.
She's
She's
not.
not.
No.
No.
Shirley, you guys know what I'm talking about. Shirley Franklin was before her. Yeah, she was the first woman to hold the post. Yeah, it was Shirley Franklin. But they really dropped the ball. Maynard did stuff. Andy Young did stuff. But that was, he was Ambassador Young, but that was it. Shirley Franklin's LGBT. Yeah, she pushed that. I remember that. Yeah, and Kasim Reed, he's trying to run again. Hell no. I got to say this too. A lot of Black female mayors in these large metropolitan cities that we're seeing, like we have Latoya Cantrell in New Orleans, we have Sharon Weston Broome in Baton Rouge, we have in Atlanta, you got Keisha Bottoms, Lance Bottoms. You got in Chicago, you have Lori Lightfoot, and you got Bowser up in D.C. I've heard nothing but negative things about them.
Well, that's because they're all Democrat shills. They're not about Black people. They're not about helping Black people. They're just about following the party line and doing what the party wants them to do.
Yeah. I mean, our Mayor Cantrell, she wants to move City Hall from downtown to the Municipal Auditorium here in New Orleans, and I don't know if you're familiar with. That's in the Treme area, and today actually there are people protesting that there are still people that are protesting because they know that if she comes down there, the traffic damage that it will do to the area. It's not a place ideally you can park at. Louisiana, New Orleans always has horrible parking.
Yeah.
New Orleans has always had terrible parking. Everything is put downtown. That's why they put the parking garages and stuff there, guys. So ideal place to put it would be in New Orleans East. Maybe if they put it in New Orleans East, we could get some police protection out here because the crime rate out here is bad, but that's not something they want to do because they want this area. They have done their best to make it gentrified.
Yeah, they make it gentrified, but I have to wonder why. How can it be gentrified if it's so gentrified? Then how is it not safe? I mean, That's one of the things that I wonder about things, because I look at all these so-called gentrified areas like here in Harlem, and drug addicts practically are on the street. It's not safe. Yes, you have fancy buildings and fancy businesses, but the blight is still there.
Yeah.
So who is it helping? I mean, how have you changed things? It's almost as bad as it was before. And then the businesses they brought in, they wind up leaving in a year once they get their government benefits cut off, their tax breaks. So they wind up closing. And I saw that happen in Harlem, and it was just sad. I mean, all these great businesses came and then they left. I mean, Krispy Kreme left in a year, and all the other businesses that were a part of that empowerment zone in Harlem, all gone now.
Yeah, Harlem is gentrified. Whites and Arabs are living out there more. From even what Dr. Claude Anderson said, he was on Boyce Watkins' show a couple of weeks ago. Said how he's upset about this Black Wall Street thing. You got no reparations, you got nothing out of it. No black train station system. Not even a system where they can transport their goods, things of that nature.
All the black businesses got pushed out with gentrification, and the white businesses come in, then they get their grant money, then they leave, and then the hole is still there.
In New Orleans with the blinking red and blue lights.
Right.
Across New Orleans came together this evening to speak out against the city's plans to move City Hall to the municipal auditorium, which is set empty
the call
since
for
Hurricane
make City
Katrina.
Hall
Paul Dudley has more from neighbors.
City Hall in a Treme area.
We
Courtesy of
don't want City Hall
WWL-TV. I don't own the rights to it.
Amy Stelly is an urban designer living in Treme. She's deeply concerned by plans to move City Hall from its current location to the vacant municipal auditorium.
We feel that the placement of a government center in a neighborhood is inappropriate.
Stelly isn't happy with any of the city's plans for the transformation. One concept takes away the fire station, another calls for a parking structure next to a playground, and another has a 9-story annex to the building and a nearly 2,600 car garage.
So if you can imagine this neighborhood with an additional 2,600 cars, we're doomed.
At a meeting Tuesday, others said the move would destroy what is left of a community that's been historically hurt by displacement and rezoning of the culture.
If you come through Armstrong Park with your massive garages, you're going to kill the entire area. And Treme will be a myth.
If we don't support the culture in real ways, then what are we really talking about?
The city says the move is driven by nearly $40 million from FEMA to renovate the auditorium.
It would be a tremendous mistake to have that level of federal funding just walk away from it.
The city adding they're committed to hearing from neighbors, but maintain moving City Hall here would be good for Treme.
We see it as an investment in the neighborhood. And that's something that we want to have an opportunity to talk to concerned residents about.
Stelly wants to see the auditorium restored into a civic center, saying anything less would hurt this neighborhood.
The auditorium carries a lot of meaning for a lot of people in the city. And to see that meaning totally disregarded and turned into a city hall is really a stab through the heart of the community of New Orleans.
Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News.
Cost to restore the old city hall comes in at around $155 million. The municipal plan would cost around $171 million without the FEMA money included.
Sounds like a federal money grab.
Oh, of course.
Grant money hustle.
That's what they did here. They had money that was supposed to go to the lower ninth ward that went to the Superdome after Katrina.
And they use that money to line their pockets at the expense of people, and then they destroy their lives while they sit there and enrich themselves at people's expense. And this is something that these politicians do all the time. They take the earmark money and the grant money, and then they go out here and build these things, and then they push people out of their homes and destroy their lives. Meanwhile, they're sitting and living fat off the money they skim off the top, and their contractor buddies skim off the top. And what's sad is people wind up losing their homes and their communities because of these greedy people.
Yeah. And that's the Treme neighborhood. Like I said, too, how you going to park there? Because they're going to charge for parking, trust me.
And that's going to just make that's going to become a traffic nightmare, because how all those cars going to come in if you don't have the infrastructure set up to go on those local city streets. It's just, again, it's about them getting grant money. And I saw this happen with my old apartment building. It's all about them getting this grant money to be able to funnel to their friends, and then they're not really thinking about the people they serve.
Right.
Just detached. They're just detached.
Money hustle.
Yeah, it's what I call grant money hustle.
Shawn, I should have shared this earlier, but I shared this with you via Facebook Messenger. This was an article written out. I've heard this talk before. This was written by Omar Encarnacion for foreignpolicy.com. Gay reparations are past due. Basically trying to get, he wrote an article called The Case for Gay Reparations on June 1st, 2021. He actually has it for 216 paperback, 216 pages paperback for sale for $24.95. So he's got a book out on this, and to make up for its abusive past, and here's why. And he's talking about how different countries in Europe have acknowledged their transgressions against the homosexual community, LGBTQ community, policies that were put in place. They mention also the Stonewall riots, which is supposedly the event that changed everything for the movement. But a lot of people don't know, and I've heard this, that riot actually was not about LGBTQ, but rather that area, I've heard, was a front for the mob.
Yeah.
You're up there in New York. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh, I've heard it circulated, and Tariq talked about it in his documentary Buck Breaking. And the whole idea of this gay reparations, as I see it, is complete bullshit. Pardon my language, because
We rarely hear Shawn curse.
this is them, trying to piggyback on black people once again. We're the ones who deserve to get the check cut for us, not these homosexuals, because these homosexuals, as Tariq presented in Buck Breaking, showed us that many of the members of the alphabet community were behind a lot of the policies to oppress black people. So they're sitting there talking about how they're victims. They were never victims, because after watching Tariq's Buck Breaking and watching other videos on the gay community, there is a whole history of this gay community working hand in hand with, as a part of a subsidiary of white supremacy, to oppress black Americans. And these people want to sit there and say that they're victims. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, seriously, you sitting up here talking about how you're a victim and you deserve benefits for something that you participated in. You can't come here with this and say you did this you deserve reparations. No, reparations are meant to pay for the past discrimination of slavery, the past discrimination of Jim Crow, and for the current and ongoing discrimination that black people have received due to the hijacking of programs like affirmative action by white women and the denial of heterosexual black men access to the job market. That's who reparations is supposed to pay tangible money to. The gay community has benefited for decades here in this country. Many of these actors who are homosexual were able to work in Hollywood when black actors couldn't work. Many of these gay people could be politicians and businessmen, and they have been in this community making money and participating in the current and ongoing discrimination against black people for years. So I don't really want to hear them talking about how oppressed they are, because they worked hand in hand with the oppressor, just like the white woman, to deny black people an opportunity to be able to compete in America's economy and achieve the American dream. So when I listen to these people talking about, oh, gay people need reparations, you weren't discriminated by black people are based on your skin tone, because many of these people, they were an essential institution in Hollywood. They practically controlled Hollywood, which was a billion-dollar business. Even in the early days of its inception, the gay community had a major hand in Hollywood. Many of these gay actors worked for years and were able to generate wealth, but a black actor couldn't even get any role outside of being a minstrel. Yeah. So you're going to sit here and tell me that they deserve reparations? No, you don't deserve reparations when you received all the benefits of this country and were allowed to achieve the American dream. You were allowed to be a part of enclaves. You were allowed to have political power because in order to stay and control an institution like Hollywood and be a part of Hollywood, you had political power and economic power. So I don't want to hear about them sitting there and talking about, oh, we are oppressed, we deserve reparations. No, the only people who deserve reparations are foundational Black Americans who were born here in America and were American citizens and were the descendants of slaves.
Yeah. I'll just say this. It would be an insult if any other group, I'm trying not to get
Across New Orleans
suspended
came together
from
this evening to speak out against the
YouTube
city's
again, but I think it would be insulting if another group were to get reparations or get some type of tangibles out of this administration or out of any other administration or just out of the government before Black Americans could get it. And I'll just say that we have contributed the most to society, to American, to this country, to in its whether it be in its wars, whether it be in its civics, uh, you know, foundations in government, uh, everything. We've built this, and I think it's insulting that they have not talked about this, but they want to push for other groups. I think it's wrong. When you have states like New York that want to push for amnesty and giving monies to illegal immigrants, $15,000, and yet families who are on the brink of being evicted, you fought for months throughout this pandemic on giving the American people even $1,400. I think it's embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing, very, very embarrassing. And it shows the hypocrisy of America. You want to talk about all these other groups, but you don't want to talk about the people who you enslaved to build your country and don't want to give them tangibles, but you want to give people who aren't citizens and people who already benefited in this country and achieved the American dream. That's a slap in the face to all of those Black people. And it really makes me shake my head at all those Joe Biden supporters because this is again disrespect being directed at you, but you sitting there thinking that this is something that you should sit here and tolerate when you need to really be pushing back about stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go on to the next one. I'll get into this. I want to know what your thoughts are about about this one. I did this last week without you, but Moist Lamont Hill, he made some attacks and took some shots at Dr. Cosby. I want to play a little bit of it. He's on this Black news channel. I've never heard of or watched. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, the Black news channel. I know it's whoever runs it. We can do research here. Founded by Bob Brillante out in Tallahassee, Florida. And I think that's who Mark Lamont, I think that's the one he's in, or I could be mistaken. See. But last week, as most people know, Bill Cosby's parole was denied. And he has been fighting for his life he's been fighting to get released from jail. And he has always maintained that he is innocent of all of these charges. Now, you guys know that I do a lot of research. I've talked a lot about Mr. Cosby, that case, how unfair it was. And some people have gotten the message, others have not. Some people have looked at the Cosby situation and essentially just have out of personal animosity towards Dr. Cosby over something personal that happened, not facts, not evidence. They are angry and upset. So what I'm going to do right now is play the video. I don't know if you've seen this, but I did a live stream with my brother, Andrew Jones, my fellow attorney, fellow litigator, and we talked about Mr. Hill's comments. and I want to get your thoughts on it. So I'm going to play that right quick for everybody to see if you just tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe. Donate to the Cash App you see at the bottom. You see in the Cash App is my name right here, Gavin Richard Esquire. You see where the mouse is. Also, we got brother Shawn James. I want you all to donate to Shawn's channel, and also donate to and buy his book. Well, buy his books that are available on Amazon. Revenge of the Cyber Goddess and John Haynes Taking Care of Business. That's available right now on Amazon. So I have the video up right now, guys, and I'm going to play it for you all so you could take a look and see why it's not coming up through Safari, man. Hold on. Okay. Hold on a second. Can y'all see this? Can you see the video?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, everybody, you can see it in full screen?
And I see a screen. Let's see if this comes up. I see a black screen.
You see a black screen?
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, please. All right. All right, hold on a second, guys. Technical difficulty, but we'll get to it in a second. What video, robots? I don't know what you're talking about. See, I have a tough time. I don't know, for some reason, I can't access. This is on Facebook. And it's a 2-minute clip. And of course, I have it at 2 minutes because I don't want to bore you with everything that's in here. We just are pressed for time. But you all. Okay, so we're up. Excuse me. Guys, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I hate it when there's silence. I'm trying to pull this thing up. I don't know what happened. Okay. All right, here's Moise Lamont Hill.
First of all,
I'm going to rewind it. We're going to get Shawn's opinion on it. Lamont, you big dummy Hill. Now, here we go.
This is such a fascinating circumstance. First of all, this speaks to some of the challenges that many abolitionists have, myself included, with the idea that prison is the corrective to all of our social problems, our social crises, our social contradictions. If prison's supposed to rehabilitate, supposed to make you better, and ain't happening with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's still saying he ain't do it. And I understand, to my second point, that if you didn't do it, you shouldn't have to proclaim your innocence. Or, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to proclaim your guilt as a condition of parole if you didn't do it. Because essentially they're going to say then that you can never get out. So if Bill Cosby says he didn't do it, then we should be considering that. Here's the problem. He did it. Not just because the jury said it, but because the evidence shows, even based on what Bill Cosby says he did, even based on his own accounts from the 60s, 70s, and 80s with Spanish Fly and drugging women, even what he was actually convicted for in 2004, all of it suggests guilt and a certain kind of perverse stubbornness that he refuses to take a class for sexual offenders. Even if it's a class that he doesn't think he needs, why not just take it? But he's actually doubling down on something. He thinks he's standing on principle. He's allowing himself to be presented as a martyr, as someone who is being wrongfully accused of some attack on black men, when in fact, based on what he says he did, he has satisfied the conditions for being a sexual predator. I'm not saying that as a personal attack against Bill Cosby. I don't care for Bill Cosby, but that ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about based on what the jury said. I'm talking about based on what the account said. I'm talking about based on what the report said. I'm talking about based on what Bill Cosby himself said with the Quaaludes at the parties. So it's a bit challenging for me to think about what to do with a guy like Bill Cosby, because he's clearly a threat to society. So we need some form of restraint for him, but prison doesn't seem to be a healthy way of doing it. But it's also hard to feel sympathetic for Bill Cosby when he's such a recalcitrant, stubborn, condescending, narcissistic piece of human garbage. All right.
Okay. I've already done my comments on him. I may say something else again, but you guys already know that Mr. Hill, my thoughts on Mr. Hill. I will let our brother Shawn roast him, because Shawn has showed the video of Shawn just now, and I took it off of the screen to see Shawn's reaction, and y'all saw Shawn wasn't even looking at the video. And he's not even looking at
I was disgusted by what I saw, because this guy, Mark Moist Lamont Hill, you big dummy, he's bootlicking for those butter biscuits from Popeyes, and he's trying to make himself try to appear favorable to his white slave masters. Now, according to our Constitution, a man is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, and he's supposed to be able to get due process under the laws of our United States Constitution. And Bill Cosby was denied an opportunity to get due process under the laws of our United States Constitution by a prosecutor, Kevin Steele, who went out here and ran his campaign with malice aforethought. And then, as he was running after he ran his campaign with malice aforethought, where he said he was going to convict Bill Cosby, he then went out here and tried to rig the entire case with a biased judge and a jury that was not of his peers, and went out and sought to get this cold case against Bill Cosby. And this man is not guilty, and he should not go out here and admit to guilt for a crime he did not commit. Because if you did not commit a crime, that gives me more of a reason to believe you that you would not take this type of so-called sexual assault counseling, because you did not commit any crime. I mean, the Central Park Five, they went out here and admitted to stuff to get out of jail early, and they didn't commit a crime. But Bill Cosby seems to have a stronger character and resolve than the Central Park Five. He's standing on the principles of our Constitution and standing on the laws of this land, but that flies over the head of this ignorant jackass, Mark Lamont Hill, who really doesn't understand what's at stake here with the Cosby conviction.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. He understands what it is. He's just being an asshole.
He doesn't understand that the same thing that was done to Bill Cosby can happen to him, because the same group of women, this Me Too movement that changed the laws of our land from a due process under the law, can change it and made it trust and believe. These same people can go out here and use an allegation to take away his freedom in the same way they took Bill Cosby's freedom. Now, he wants to sit here and make straw man arguments about Bill Cosby using Quaaludes to seduce women. Well, people in the 70s took Quaaludes, and that was something people did in the 70s. So he's sitting there talking about, oh, Bill Cosby used this. Well, there were a lot of white guys who took Quaaludes and a lot of white women who willfully took Quaaludes, but there was, as I see it, no sexual violence as related to these affairs that Bill Cosby was having. These were consensual affairs. And the whole thing is, they want to try to make Bill Cosby into a black brute. And these bootlicks think that they're going to get favor from these white slave masters, not understanding the same brute narrative that was used on Bill Cosby can be used on them, and they can wind up in the same prison that Bill Cosby is in right now, all based on the allegations of a female. because when it comes down to these people in the entertainment industry, they oftentimes look to get leverage. And all you have to do is disagree with the wrong person, and you're going to get locked up in the same way Bill Cosby, I believe, is being locked up for making the pound cake speech and trying to speak out for black people's rights.
Right.
So,
Well, what I was saying with that, Shawn, let me just clarify. Mark Lamont Hill, when I said he knows this, Mark Lamont Hill is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He actually is a professor over at Temple University, which Bill Cosby graduated from, and he was a trustee on that board. So whenever I hear people like Mark Lamont Hill or Ernest Lee Thomas, or even those in the entertainment industry like Earthquake, his fellow comedians, speak, most of the time when they criticize Bill Cosby, it's about a personal issue
yeah,
that they had with Dr. Cosby. It's not about the facts and evidence. And you can tell, and for somebody who is a professor at a college like Temple University, that obviously didn't read, because if he had done the research and read what was in the trial, what took place, he would know, number one, this case should never have been brought to trial. And number two, if he went to as a reporter and did his facts, he would know that there is an appeal pending. The judges even said that they did not believe, one of the justices said Cosby did not get a fair trial, and they were disgusted about what happened. If you looked at their body language and what they had to say, they were disgusted.
yes, it's a travesty of justice. And for this professor, supposed to be an intellectual, to speak against this man based on his feelings shows that he's no different than a Kevin Steele. I mean, Kevin Steele was running on feelings, and he's running on feelings. But when it comes down to matters of our justice system, you have to put your feelings aside, because the laws that you go out here and you are interpreting in the courts impact all people in our society. So what is being done here is your Mark Lamont Hill, he's letting his feelings get in the way of, as related to Bill Cosby, in the way of his judgment. And he doesn't understand the big picture. Again, this ruling as it stands is going to do damage to all men in society. And he's just thinking on as his feelings about Bill Cosby. But yeah, whatever slights you have against Bill Cosby, you need to let it go, because this is not about Bill Cosby. This is more about legal precedent, because the standard of trust and believe, if as long as this is the law of the land, no man is safe. A lot of white guys are thinking, oh, because Andrew Cuomo is getting away and Joe Biden is getting away. No, the Me Too movement is a feminist movement, and it will not stop until they break every man with this law. And as long as it hangs over people's heads, it's a bad legal precedent, and it's one that takes us back to the dark days of Jim Crow and creates a second-class citizenship for America's men. And that doesn't give America's men much incentive to go out here and build anything. So people aren't looking at the big picture. They're just in their feelings about Bill Cosby. And your Mark Lamont Hill, this bootlick, all he's thinking about is his feelings about Bill Cosby. And he's not really understanding that, again, the same allegation that could be used to take down Bill Cosby can be used to take down him, and he can lose everything that he worked for in the exact same way that Bill Cosby wound up losing it. But he won't have any sympathy from me, because he doesn't really see the big picture, and he's just a big dummy, like Professor Black Truth says.
Mark Lamont, Big Dummy Hill.
And
Yeah,
he is a big dummy.
he is. And he's a shield. Look, and I really don't have any respect for the man. I lost all respect for him. He tried to say Malcolm X was gay. He tried to justify, he threw Dr. Frances Cress Welsing on the bus right after she died. Her body wasn't even cold. And I didn't even know Dr. Welsing. A lot of people in the conscious community knew of her, obviously her book, The ISIS Papers and so forth. But, you're attacking someone who just died shows a lot about you and your character.
He's a coward.
He's a bitch.
Yeah, he's weak.
He's a punk.
A man of
got schooled. I remember when he got schooled by Cosby's lawyer, Monique Presley. And Monique Presley, she has her issues. Trust me, because she's on that Democrat shield too. But she took him to school about that Cosby case when she was representing him and breaking down everything. And to answer your earlier question, Cheryl, let me get this out the way first. Shout out to Daryl from Atlanta for his contribution to the Cash App. Please hit that Cash App, guys. Let me say yes. Yes, absolutely, Cheryl. Admitting guilt is a condition to be paroled. Yes, they have to. You have to show contrition. You're sorry for what you've done. Cosby would have had to undergo therapy. He would have to go and attend classes. And he was like, "I'm not going to attend something for something I didn't do." And if you have your appeal pending, you're still waiting for a decision from the Supreme Court. It would have made the whole thing moot at that point. So I would have done what he did. And let's not forget, this same situation happened with the in the infamous case of the Central Park Five, where that boy who was sitting in jail for life had for at least not for life, but for a long prison sentence. He actually refused to go and meet with the parole board. You remember every chance he had every year because he was innocent and he was prepared to do his time. So Cosby is waiting on his appeal, and there's a strong likelihood it would be granted. So if you guys want to do some research, have lawyers that will come on your channel and talk about it. Otherwise, shut the hell up. Because you really don't know obviously you don't know what you're talking about, or you're feeding misinformation to the people. That is one of those two.
Yeah.
And the Playboy, and let's be real about drugs and so forth. The women, if you read the deposition, Cosby never stated he drugged any woman. He never stated that he gave it involuntarily to any woman. He said he bought those pills. He had them for an injury occurred while he was playing tennis. And with women he was messing around with, they took them voluntarily.
Yeah.
It's like it's like you go out with your girl, you and your girl are gonna do drugs tonight. Y'all gonna drink, we're gonna party, and then we're gonna fuck later.
And that's what happened in the 70s and the 80s all the time.
And that's what it was. Now they have buyer's remorse. Hugh Hefner didn't get Me Too because he checked out at the right time.
Yeah. But they didn't want to go after him because he's got information on other people. So they don't want to go after him and wind up alienating people and then making it where he would have dropped the document, and that would have been the end of a lot of people.
Right.
Plus, he has a lot of stuff like around information on these women, so they know that they mess with him. That's the end of them.
Yeah, the girl he was messing with, the last girl he was with, who was a teenager, she was 18, 19, and she talked about how he tried to get her to do breast enhancement surgery, get her to do Quaaludes and all of this stuff too.
So that was something that was done, and a lot of these women to do stuff, but then they don't want it to come out. The whole thing is that a lot of women want to revise history and make it look like they were these sweet and innocent women, but a lot of these women in the entertainment business, they were doing a lot of dirt under the table. A lot of these women have skeleton bones, and that's why I did a whole video talking about skeleton bones. A lot of these females have skeleton bones that if guys found out about them, it would freak them out when they find out what their woman did for these parts and these roles in these movies. If you found out what they were doing, you wouldn't look at that woman the exact same way.
Yeah. Right. And that was actually in the Scream 3 movie. They talked about that, about Sidney Prescott's mom, and the producer talked about how it was the 70s.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, yeah, she slept her way to, because she was an actress, if I'm not mistaken. So all of that stuff was in there. Hollywood, when you look at those movies, they talk about the truth. You know, it's always a segment of the truth that's hidden within that make-believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. A lot of these women have been passed around by these producers and these directors, and even some of these guys, these agents and stuff, have had their fun with these women, and they don't want to talk about that part of Hollywood. But I knew all about it for years, and I knew a lot of these women. They have been traded around. They've been bouncing from dude to dude to get these parts, to get these auditions. They use their body to get leverage, and then when they get older, now they want to revise history. But we all know that the women who are a part of the entertainment business, they aren't really women of character because the things they had to do to get these parts. If again, it's like a graveyard. Some of these females have graveyards. They have skeleton bones, and you don't want to know who they've been with because these women have been with a lot of different guys. They just won't tell you about half of them.
Yeah.
I need to do a whole show on that. I need to do a whole video. I need to do a live stream on that.
Yeah, we need to do a whole live stream on it. I got to drop some more videos on it. Last topic of the night, Sean, I want to talk about is an Asian neighbor who shot a 6-year-old boy. His bond was originally set at $10,000. He was charged with assault with attempt to murder. And after the neighborhood and people like you and me and others complained about it, his bond was raised from $10,000 to $100,000. No cash bond, so he is still in custody. Of course, this was done in a Democratic city, city and state out in Michigan. You've done a video about it. Let's play a little bit of the video if we can. This happened back on June 8th or 7th, if I believe. This cute little kid too. 6-year-old. He was a baby.
Yeah, he was no threat to anyone.
I'm sorry?
I said he was no threat to anyone. I remember being 6. You barely even know you're in the world.
No.
Shot a little boy. He walks free, making bond on Tuesday. It has this family angry and confused.
And I'm trying to figure out how he got a bond that was so low for trying to kill my kid.
Arnold Daniel trying to figure out why Ryan Lee Wen is out of jail after allegedly shooting his son Kobe.
He tried to hit me with a sledgehammer, but that's not gonna work because I'm too fast.
So then what did he do?
Got a gun. Boom! Shot me right here.
It's all on video Saturday afternoon on Candlewood Lane. You'll see kids playing, hear a gunshot, then Kobe realizes he's hit. Lee Wen allegedly fired through his front window. The bullet went in Kobe's arm and out the other side.
Little Cody Daniels, and let me say this: Cody is a rider.
Joining me now is BNC's legal contributor and veteran.
Than his dad. His dad was like, I don't know what to do. Excuse me? Now, as a lawyer, I can't encourage anybody to break the law, commit violence, or anything like that. Yeah. But speaking as a man, and I don't have children yet, at least that I know of. But speaking as a man, I am an uncle to 2 boys that are out of this world. I have a niece as well, my goddaughter. I can tell you, if anybody did anything to them, I would have to have some bail money set for me. That's just how I feel about it. Because for a 6-year-old, and I have to say, this Ryan Lee Wen guy allegedly did, and I only say alleged because of legal purposes. There's a procedure everybody knows that we go through. I talk about it all the time. That's why I just say alleged, because I wasn't there. Somebody would have to pay. But I'm more upset that this judge would grant a low bail for this man in the first place. Now, I know how bail is granted, what goes through, what's the procedures, questions that they have to ask, whether this person is a threat to the community, what is their standing, things of that nature. I get all of that. But this was a 6-year-old boy that could have been killed. If a bullet doesn't have a name on it, it could have killed someone else. He could have killed someone else, excuse me. Somebody would have their ass beat. And the nerve of this judge, Elisa Fink, now she was not the judge, I think, that increased the bond afterwards. I believe they got another judge to do it. The nerve of this wench. I'm not going to I know we got to respect judges and so forth, but you know what? I'm not in Michigan. Freedom of speech. She wished him good luck. Not surprising. Go ahead, Shawn. You take it.
Yeah, but this whole case just shows us how white supremacy is throughout our criminal justice system, and how this white supremacy is leading to this twisted interpretation of the law. I mean, this man committed a felony, and she gives him a low bail, not understanding that you're putting a dangerous felon back on the streets. Because what that man did, as I see it, was attempted murder, because this man knew that this child could not defend himself. This was a 6-year-old kid. I remember being 6 years old, and all a 6-year-old is thinking about is playing. But this racist, because he saw a black child, wanted to go out here and attack this black child because this black child was not fitting into his twisted stereotypes about black people, and he wanted to hurt this black child. I mean, to come out with a sledgehammer at first against a 6-year-old, that shows malice of forethought. And to then go out and take out a shotgun and then fire a shot at this 6-year-old because he was trying to pick up his bike to get back away from this man, that again shows not only malice of forethought, but intent to kill. And for this judge, this white female, whoever she is, to show such callousness regarding this case, that really disgusts me, because she's sitting here thinking, oh, $10,000 for this Asian man is perfectly fine. This man attempted to murder a child with malice of forethought. If this was a white child, I guarantee you that bail would probably be up to $200,000-$300,000. And she only did this because she thought a black child's life didn't matter. And that really is one of the critical questions I have to ask. Where is Black Lives Matter? Where are all of these people out here?
That would stand. Ready black celebrities talking about stop Asian hate. Jada Pinkett Smith and her mother and her crazy ass daughter Willow and Michael Eric Dyson. Y'all Negroes look funny.
Where are all these people? I mean, where are all these people to stand up for Kobe Daniels' rights? I mean, where are the people marching and protesting for Kobe Daniels' rights? Oh, wait, this is happening in a Democratic state run by Democrats. So they're not going to come out here and stand up because they're not Republican or part of the evil orange man agenda. No, they don't want to get in the face of these Democrats as related to this case. And they don't want to go out here and go against the Asian racist who is clearly gone out here and tried to murder this child. This guy is an Asian George Zimmerman, and he tried to murder this child. And he tried to murder this child, again, basically for doing what children do. Children, when they're on the sidewalks here in New York, they play all the time. And it's just a part of life, and people accept it. But this man didn't want to accept it because he did not want to accept a black child playing on the street. Because when I look at that video, I see black children, white children, all sorts of races. They were playing together, but this racist did not like the idea of this black child. And that's one of the things that made him lash out and want to go out here and hurt that child, because he did not like the idea of this black child playing near his property, because in his world, black people are less than Asian people. And that's the racism that was shown here in this case. And there was more racism shown by the courts as related to this bail, because they were interpreting the law saying a black person's life had no value by going out here and giving this man low bail, because the message they were sending with that low bail was saying that a black person's life had no real value, and a black person's life is not something we're going to hold this Asian person accountable for. And that is the thing that disgusts me about this case is even though these people talk about how they're so against racism, we clearly see the racism in the criminal justice system as related to this case. And because those black people actually did see that racism as related to this case, short term, they did demand that this bail get raised, but more black people have to come out and start to see the racism as related to this Democratic Party, because all of these incidents, Cosby's railroading, this whole case right here, they're all happening in Democrat states, and it's showing us how little the Democratic Party regards black people.
Most definitely. And let me say this, everybody else can get theirs and so forth. I treat people how I want to be treated, no matter what they look like. I have had kids, I mean, look, there are kids that walk around my backyard or have walked around and passed in the backyard where I live. I don't go and shoot a bullet through the window. I'm abandonment my window to at them because I tell them to stay off my property. They're walking away from me. But
Yeah, you just walk over and talk to the kids, and there's nothing, and that's what everybody does. Anybody reasonable just walks up to the kids and says, "Look, don't play on this property. It's just you're trying to protect your property, but you don't go out and go to these extremes like this beta male did, where he went out here and was clearly looking to hurt these children. And again, these children can't defend themselves. I mean, these were 6-year-old kids. They don't know what they're doing. So why are you attacking these kids out here? I mean, only a sick person does something like that, but that's what they do. And it's the whole thing is that this is why I don't know what's sicker, that sick racist or the Democratic judge who went out here and gave him a pass so that they could actually send a message that this kind of violence is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that prosecutor too, Tariq was going at him hard to the point where the guy made his Twitter profile private. So that was interesting note. But yeah, you guys got to demand this stuff, man. Y'all got to make sure these people don't take you seriously. This is the video right here.
High surety bonds, but nobody's here to talk to me about it. All right. I'm going to set the bond at $10,000 cash or surety, no 10%. No contact with Colby Daniel. I don't want him to live at the Candlewood address. So can we have a different mailing address for him if we have one?
Mr. Wynn, where do you want your mail to go?
And he's going to give his father's address. I played this last time.
My father's address, which is 5709 Cary Drive, Ypsilanti, 48197.
Yes. Okay, and then Mr. Simon, do you want him to give me his email now, or do you want to do that?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. What's your email address, Mr. Lehman?
My email address is LE.Ryan123 @gmail.
Did you say the first two letters were M like Mary?
L as in Lima, and then E as in elephant.
I don't want to play anymore.
.Ryan123.
Pain in the ass. Yeah. Well, we'll be monitoring this story, and I mean, assault with murder carries anywhere from a number of years to life in prison. Blackfoot says that judge is a disgrace to that uniform. DJ B-Side, shout out to him. He said blinking bastard, referring to Ryan Lee Wing's constant blinking on that cell phone that they had for him. Before we get out of here, there is one other thing I just wanted to talk about too. I guess I'll do a video on it, but maybe I can get Shawn's opinion fast. There was, of course, a settlement a few days ago in the case of Alton Sterling. Alton Sterling's family settled this case with their lawyers for $4.5 million. course, many people may remember Alton Sterling was the black man that was shot outside of uh, of a food mart out in Baton Rouge, where I grew up. Where I not grew up in, but I lived in Baton Rouge for quite some time. I know exactly where it is. I was working there. I passed through there a lot, and that's off North Foster. It's right next to where the 100 Black Men of New Orleans is actually headquartered. His family had reached a decision with the city to settle this case, or the city actually paid them this because the city initially, the city council would not even approve a settlement at first. So this comes courtesy of WBRZ2.
Tonight, a settlement in the shooting death of Alton Sterling by Baton Rouge police.
The wrongful death suit is over now that the city's agreed to pay $4.5 million. City leaders say with this settlement comes a time to move forward. News 2's Earl Phelps with more tonight.
It looks a lot different these days at the Triple S Food Mart on North Foster Drive in Baton Rouge. What happened here spawning unrest and also conversations about society and police policy.
We've dealt with this situation for over 5 years now, and it's time we're able to move forward.
Baton Rouge Mayor Pro Tem Lamont among the Metro Council members approving a settlement with Alton Sterling's family.
Anytime we can move beyond an issue that was so polarizing here in our community, I think it's a good thing.
The family and the city parish settling on a $4.5 million deal, $1 million paid immediately, and $875,000 a year for the next 4 years.
But we came up with that number, they accepted, and so for that reason, I think it's a good deal that we move forward, that we're able to move forward now that they've accepted it.
And even though the lawsuit pertaining to the police-involved shooting that happened here almost 5 years ago has been settled, the Mayor Pro Tem says there's still a lot of work to be done about police and community relations. The then police officer who shot Sterling, Blaine Salamone, is no longer on the force.
At the end of the day, the climate we find ourselves in all over the country, but particularly here in Baton Rouge, the relationship between law enforcement and the community is not the strongest because there is a lack of trust.
An issue that Cole says can only be solved when the entire community gets involved. In Baton Rouge, Earl Phelps, WBRZ News 2.
The money from the settlement is paid out from the city parish's reserve fund of $20 million that covers lawsuits.
You're right. A lot of work is an understatement. Yeah, the Triple S Food Mart. I remember when this happened. That was over the 4th of July weekend. That was over 5 years ago. It's hard to believe. Shawn, did you have any comment on it?
I'm deeply disappointed that the officers who shot Alton Sterling were never punished. And this is just another empty gesture. Yes, the family got some money, but this man's life is gone. And sadly, all they got was paid for him like a piece of property. That's one of the most troubling things about many of these settlements is that they act like a black man's life has no value for being a human being. And they think they can just go out here and pay the family off like somebody killed a horse or wrecked a car. And it's basically turning a black man into an object. And that's the whole sad part about the settlement is they're acting like, oh, we're going to move on. Like this man's life really didn't matter at all. And that's a really troubling thing for me is that a black man's life has no value in this society unless he passes away. And that's not the way society should be. I mean, if these police officers allegedly took this man's life, they should be held accountable. They should be punished. And we should be looking to get justice, not to just move on. Because when you look at these type of settlements, all it does is send a message that a black man, if he dies at the hands of the police, all you need to do is look for a payday and not look for any sort of punishment or get any sort of policy towards punishing these officers for doing wrong.
Yeah. My thing on it is that I'll be brief. You know, the situation that happened. I have Salamone, his father was the third in command of the Baton Rouge Police Department, so I knew he was not going to face any charges. even when I was going downtown, that was the news and word across the city because I knew nothing was going to happen to them. And loyal friends I was talking to, they knew what the decision was going to be. And a lot of people were bracing for the worst, but we didn't have anything happen. Uh, Unfortunately, we're not going to have a criminal trial in that, which, even though I think there should have been, because we need to determine whether justice was appropriate. Was what happened in self-defense, did that take place? Or was it murder? That's something a jury is supposed to decide. That's how criminal proceedings are done in this country. We take the evidence, we look at it, and you make a determination based off the evidence and make your verdict according to that. To have it where prosecutors are saying, I just don't want to do it because they don't want to deal with the paperwork and time and think it'll be a dead case, that has become problematic, especially with some of the officers. Let's not forget also, even in the recent Derek Chauvin situation, I was disappointed by the AG even saying how he felt sad about Derek Chauvin because he's a human being as well. Excuse me. Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd, along with his, he killed George Floyd. He actually put his,
And when he put that badge on, he set himself to a higher standard. His goal was to protect and serve the people. And when he went out here and murdered George Floyd, he violated that badge and everything that it stood for.
Right. Right.
Because we're supposed to hold our officers to a higher standard and expect better of them. And the whole thing is we have too many people giving people in law enforcement passes, but they need to be held accountable because once you take that oath to be a law enforcement officer, you're supposed to protect that law and support that law and not think that you're above it.
Yeah. Most definitely. And I'm just disgusted that again, this we gotta have some leaders that have balls, man. We don't have that. Prosecutors are very important. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, a fellow attorney. Prosecutors are the most important people in the courtroom. You know why? Because they're the ones that bring the charges formally. Outside of a judge, they have a lot of sway about what's going to move forward and what not. They bring the case. So we need people in those positions that are willing to actually do something and care about the people and based off the evidence and not be intimidated. Unfortunately, it seems like we don't have that in our current situations in some of our cities when these things arises, when these things have arisen, and we see the uprisings that take place as a result. So, although yes, a lot of our stuff has been co-opted, and I'll say that much. But I'm going to do a video on this as well, a follow-up video with it, can give my thoughts on it because I have some memories of being there in Baton Rouge 5 years ago. It's hard to believe, man. That's been that long. But Shawn, I'm gonna have you get on out of here. Before we do, ladies and gentlemen, please hit that Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, and I'm gonna ask Shawn to plug in his books. Shawn, why don't you tell us about your latest books, where people can buy them? Go ahead. Now's the time.
Again, my latest books on the SJS Direct imprint for the 2021 catalog so far are John Haynes Taking Care of Business and ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, which are now available in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And you can get both of those books right now by heading over to Amazon.com. I also have some other great books that are great summer beach reads, like Eternal Night and Spellbound. So I have a lot of great books on Amazon.com, and I will leave a link to my Amazon page so you can pick up all of those great books and be able to pick them up. And again, I want to try to get the sales up on the SJS Direct imprint. So I'm asking everybody to head over to Amazon and pick up those books. So I want again, thank you, Gavin, for helping me promote my work. And there's a lot of great positive Black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint. These books will inspire and uplift you with the African American fiction and fantasy. And my nonfiction books will give you some perspective on life and as related to men's issues.
Most definitely. Y'all look out for the woman crisis. I still have the man crisis, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now. I'm at the I'm just in the development stage. I'm trying to get it together. It's going to be my summer project. My viewers have been asking me for the woman crisis, so I really want to get this book together, and I've really got a strong argument for the woman crisis, and I'm working on that thesis right now, and I'm hoping to have that out by 2022.
Most definitely. I have my book I'm developing that will be out this year as well. I won't give an exact date, but I'm moving forward with it, and y'all will be tuned into my second book. I'll talk about it a little bit more once the details are finalized, but it's going to be a good one. So, all right. Well, Shawn, stay on for me after I end the live for a second. I just had a question I want to ask you in private, but thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in. Please go ahead and check out those two books, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess and John Haynes Taking Care of Business. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. Donate to that Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire. Google Pay, gavin.grich1@gmail.com. The same on PayPal, gavin.grich1@gmail.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all. And thank you all to my new subscribers. We're only a few away from 1,000 subscribers on the Gboot 2786 channel. So despite what we've gone through with YouTube and they're pushing, taking down my live streams, chat not getting alerts to my subscribers. I believe I've had some subscribers scrub. You guys have persevered, and I thank you so much. So you all be safe, be blessed. We had a great show tonight, and thank you, Shawn. I'll holler, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
This has been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents. You guys be safe, be blessed. I will have a show on Sunday afternoon. Don't know what the show will be about, but you will see one Sunday, and because we do this every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. May not have a show next Thursday, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. In the meantime, y'all check out the tune. Got to get on up. Y'all, please download that as well as purchase it on the Apple Store, on iTunes, and on Spotify. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, cause on the dance floor is where we'll be. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on Earth, Wind, and Fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get all up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get all up and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe, then you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Gotta get on. Come on, baby. Gotta get on. Baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Oh, and before I leave, I want to give a special shout out to Bishop Gerald Scott. Please get better, my brother. We're praying for you. Peace.